It's time for Twig This Week in Google. Jeff Jarvis and Kevin Marks are here. Yes, of course, we're going to talk about the new Google Amped platform. What's up at Twitter, including this new, what do they call it, news thing that they're doing? A whole lot more coming up next on Twig.
Netcasts you love.
From people you trust.
This is Twit.
Bandwidth for This Week in Google is provided by Cachefly. CACHEFLY.com. This is Twig, This Week in Google, episode 321, recorded Wednesday, October 7th, 2015. Getting Amped. This Week at Google is brought to you by FreshBooks, the super simple cloud accounting software that's giving thousands of freelancers and small businesses the tools to save time billing and get paid faster. Try it free at freshbooks.com/twig. And by lynda.com, the online learning platform with over 3,000 on-demand video courses to help you strengthen your business, technology, and creative skills. For a free 10-day trial, visit lynda.com/twig. That's lynda.com/twig. And by Braintree. Looking to set up payments for your business? Braintree gives your app or website a payment solution that accepts just about every payment method with one simple integration. Plus, Braintree will give you your first $50,000 in transactions fee-free. To learn more, visit braintreepayments.com/twig. Time for Twig This Week in Google, the show where we cover the latest news and, I should warn you, anything else we want to talk about. But that's why I love this show. It's a deep philosophical dive into technology and society, starring Jeff Jarvis, professor of journalism.
Gutenberg.
And Gutenberg the Geek.
Gutenberg.
Jeff is a professor of journalism at the CUNY City University of New York. He is there in his office right now, blogs at buzzmachine.com, and his latest geek-sparing news about the reinventing the news business. Gutenberg the Geek, a bit of historical deep dive into why things are the way they are. What would Google do? Public parts. Great to have you, Jeff. He was on Twit. A great episode of Twit.
I love being at the grown-up table. I got to have wine with the turkey.
Yeah. Lots of fun.
Wine with the turkey. Who are you calling a turkey?
And that is Kevin Marks. KevinMarks.com, at Kevin Marks on the Twitter. Man about Silicon Valley. He's been everywhere, man. Started at the BBC, was hired by Apple to work on QuickTime and podcasting before he even have a name. He also has worked at Google, British Telecom, and he joins us regularly. Great to have you, Kevin. In fact, I'm really glad you're here. Jeff, you went this morning to the Google event announcing their... Now, see, this is funny because it's been kind of framed as Google's response to Facebook News and Apple News. But it doesn't sound like that's what it is. What is AMP?
So let me back up and just give a tad of history here. I went to an event in Helsinki in May, Google Newsgeist with the Digital News Initiative in Google, and you know about news in Google in Europe. And it was about a week after Instant Articles was out. And I, for one, being an obnoxious SOB, walked in and said, you've been leapfrogged by a mile. What you people should do is do a open source version of Instant Articles. Now, this is not what caused them to do it. I'm not trying to say take credit for that. But Richard Gingras, head of Google News, is also there, who's also been arguing, as I have for quite some time, for this idea of portable content, that content can travel with its brand, revenue, analytics, and links attached, and that's a good thing. Well, lo and behold, Richard worked with Dave Besbris, the VP of Engineering at Google, and the Digital News Initiative and others. And what they announced today was, in some sense, yes, a response to Instant Articles, in that sense. However, the fact that it does news first is almost coincidental, because what this really, really, really does is go to Google's obsession about speeding up the web. And they're starting with news publishers because that's a nice controlled environment of people who want quality, and they can make nice with publishers and so on and so forth. But what this is actually fairly straightforward. Number one, so it's gonna make it so that when you click a link from an app, from Twitter, from a web page, from whatever. It's especially aimed at mobile, but it works the same on the web.
Although AMP stands for Accelerated Mobile Pages.
Mobile pages, that's what they care about, because everybody, all they care about is mobile. But it's just the web. They could, all this you're hearing about is just the web.
Okay.
It's nothing. So it is a standard that does a few things. When you click on it, the page will come up instantly. How will it do that? Number one, there's a shared library of architectural functions, how to do a slideshow, how to do other things, that the sites that are AMP ready agree to, and they use that. So that now, of course, when you click on a link, what has to happen? It has to open a browser. It has to open all the cruft and all the crap around the page, plus a bunch of crappy ads, which we'll get to in a second. And then, by the way, here comes the content. And it takes friggin' forever. So a link is an invitation to wait. So now the shared library makes it simpler and easier for the page to come up quickly. And this is an open library. It's not a template, but it's a way to call on those resources so that you don't have to reload them every time the poor user loads the page when they're the same things everybody else uses anyway. That's one. Two, it's an open cache. So it can be cached in a number of ways. It can be cached by Google itself, which offers, but that's not mandatory. Anybody else can set up a cache as well. And in a sense, it's also cached. It's prefetched onto your app. So if you're in a carousel, it's starting to fetch the next page, so it'll happen quickly. Number three, it sets certain ad standards. I think this is a hidden big story out of this, is that anything that's going to mess up the loading of the page, how what we all hate, and Bez talked about this from Google, is you load the page and then it goes up and down and up and down and up and down while it's trying to figure out the architecture and load in the ads. It has to have a set size to the ad. It has to go in. No pop-ups, no other nasty things. So it's just the bare beginning of ad standards, which I think is important. And so it loads in such a way that the content will load instantly. The ads at the top of the page will load first. They will load live, so that you're pinging the server. But then as you go on, it'll load, and it won't interrupt with you trying to see the page and read it immediately. Number four, from my understanding, is, and this wasn't talked about at the press event, but I talked afterwards. A few of us were asking Bez questions, including Danny Sullivan. Who, by the way, when Danny Sullivan's at an event, don't bother tweeting because he gets it all and he gets it right.
He's good.
So number four, which I think is interesting, is that Bez said that every publishers love analytics. So they all have all the analytics, and all the analytics are checking every damned second to say, did he scroll? Did he scroll? Did he scroll? And it's causing all kinds of problems. So now there's a shared analytics gathering engine, basically, that can feed off, and it can do Google Analytics, and it can do Omniture, and it can do Chartbeat, and so on, and Parsley, and so on and so forth. But you will not have all these separate things there doing that. So you add all that together, and what happens is that it makes the page load extremely quickly. Now, the page, keep in mind, is just a web page. This is not about changing the web. This is not about Google being an intermediary. This is an open standard. You don't have to go through Google in any way. They just offer their caching. A whole bunch of publishers from the New York Times to Vox to BuzzFeed to The Guardian to The Telegraph to German publishers, are the first in. There's 5,000 articles a day that are so far going up in this format, this AMP format. And it just simply makes it a hell of a lot faster and makes the mobile experience better. So I'm almost done, but a few more points. What happens then is that if you're in Twitter and such, when you click on a link, boom, the page is there. Now, to me, this changes pretty radically the potential experience you could have in the sense that an aggregator like Nuzzle, or like an aggregated app like Nuzzle, or a site like Real Clear Politics, the experience has been you click on a link and boom, ba-dum, 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 I wait. Now you click on a link and bingo, it'll be there. And so it'll be more like a web experience at those places. And I think this has huge implications for the idea of distributed content, that less and less people will come to our sites. More and more we will go to them. Same as instant articles on Facebook. To make it faster, maybe it's a Trojan horse, but to make it faster, that's why people are going to Washington Post is going to put up every single article it has onto Facebook. There, too, the publishers ask for Facebook. You can get Facebook to sell for you. And we're going to go to where readers are, I think, more and more and more. And so that's, in a nutshell, what AMP is. What it doesn't do is bring you back data about the users beyond the analytics that you capture, and I think that's important from the likes of Facebook. It is different from Facebook Instant Articles, but there's no reason that they couldn't bring those two things together into a standard. And that when you publish something that's AMP ready, it's also Instant Articles ready, or vice versa. I think that would be a very exciting thing to happen. I think Facebook could leapfrog Google here by giving more data back to publishers to help them be smarter about what they do. But I think this is an incredibly important change in the architecture of how we do content, and it makes all Google says they want to do. Finally, to answer your question, I think what happened here was not. I think Dave Besbris, like Google, is obsessed with making the web faster and faster and faster. And if it was news publishers or somebody else, in a sense, who cares? What they want is a better web experience, a faster web experience. They want to get rid of the delays. And so they're starting with the publishers because they also want to make it nice with publishers. But the truth is this should be true of any web page out there eventually. Now it's a standard. It's open. It's on GitHub. And so, yeah, it starts with news. And yes, I think that the impetus to get this thing going and get it done so quickly is the news initiative. But it's also just flat out a better web initiative. That's what I have to report.
Now, fortunately, we have Kevin Marks here, who is a fighter for web standards, has been from day one, and also, fortunately enough, of a technical expert that he can look at a GitHub repository and know what Google's proposing here. Because that's what what you expressed is what Google said.
Yes.
But of course, there's what we'd like to know is what it really does. It looks to me a little bit, Kevin, like just a set of best practices. I'm looking at banned HTML. No more frames, no more forms, no more embeds, no more scripts.
Shared resources and caching.
Yeah, and I understand the caching and the shared resources to speed up, and preloading too, which is maybe not such a best practice to speed up browsing. But so that's one part of it. It still is HTML, but it's a subset. It's still CSS, but it's a subset. And then it's some JavaScript from Google too, right?
Right. But no JavaScript from anybody else unless they bless it, which is part of the issue.
Yeah.
So, I mean, part of that is...
By the way, is the JavaScript from Google part of the open stuff in GitHub? I mean, can I examine that JavaScript?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So there's nothing secret going on here.
Well, there's a little bit of secret. I'll get to that. So the broad goal here is laudable in that it is trying to get rid of lots of JavaScript craft. My friend Tantek has this thing, a JSDR, which means JavaScript didn't read, which is like too long didn't read. And he deliberately runs his browser with JavaScript off so that all the pages that take forever to load go away. And that, so to some extent, this is, taking that on board. And additionally, I know how much of, I know you've been following Marco and the ad blocking and peace and all that stuff. The interesting thing that Marco said in his podcast about that was that the simplest thing that you can do to speed up the web is to block third-party JavaScript, because that's basically any JavaScript not loaded from the site that you're on is probably external ad network stuff, and that is the stuff that is slowing down the web by loading megabytes of nonsense and all these scripts that follow every click of your mouse and every hover, and doing all the sort of scary ad tech stuff, which is the ad tech equivalent of junk bonds or whatever. So so this does that. This does say, okay, no JavaScript in this page, and then it says except special JavaScript approved by Google. Now, Google are good at writing JavaScript. They're good at this stuff. So they've done a streamlined thing there that they're caching that JavaScript so that it runs, so that you'll load it once, however many sites you go to, doing that kind of thing. Some of the other things they've done, but what it means is it won't even let you load JavaScript from your own site, which is a bit weird. So I took one of my pages and marked it up to try this out.
Only you could do that, Kevin.
Well,
just as a side.
They give you a command that you can. They give you a little JavaScript you can run to say, "Am I compliant?" Okay. And what's compliant and what's not.
I'm trying that. I can't actually tell. Well, as I said, I was just doing this as we were getting on the air, so I'm not sure I completely got this right yet. But I'll put the link in. So this is my page, which was my quick reaction to AMP.
Let me load this up.
Oh, so let me put it in the right IRC. That would help, wouldn't it?
Are you putting it in IRC?
I'll put it in IRC.
Okay. And I'll go back then to the GitHub. So because on the first blush, I don't even see the word news in this. This is just really more a platform for doing better, more complete pages. Although if you ban my JavaScript, it also means that my site's never going to work in this. This is so I don't. I mean,
yes, it basically means that they're trying to do it JavaScript free web, but it also means that they're not. They get to approve what JavaScript runs. Yeah. Now that
seems somewhat draconian
for the news sites, for the New York Times, for the people who are mired in megabytes of ad junk. That's a good thing. But it does undermine my site. So this is my site.
This loaded very fast, including the Twitter embeds.
Twitter embeds.
Yeah. You're allowed to use fonts, right? But it has to be Google fonts, which is also a little bit of.
Oh, well, I'm just using system fonts anyway. So my font, I don't use font face. I just use a list of fonts that'll render differently, whether you're on Mac, on Android, or whatever. Because I'm not precious about fonts. But I did an AMP version down the bottom, and I haven't actually finished this. There's an AMP version with the JavaScript removed. The AMP version, if I click through that, you lose the Twitter embeds. Now they've got a way of embedding tweets, which I haven't got around to editing into it.
You just can't use the embed command.
Yeah. So you will. What the way Twitter works is that you use block quote to embed them, so you see something there.
Right.
But then it runs JavaScript to decorate them so that they look pretty again. What I'm not sure is whether this is actually being tested properly yet, because as I say, I just started doing this half an hour before we went on the air. So, but in principle, this should work as an AMP thing. So maybe if we link to it from Twitter, it'll load in AMP.
Right.
But that's part of it. It's hard to tell. And also with my pages, it's hard to tell anyway because there's not much markup on them. So I think the loading time difference is going to be nominal here.
It did load. Your page load very fast in both cases, obviously.
Well, importantly, it pretty much the difference on a web browser, on a computer web browser, is not going to be terribly noticeable.
It's about
as
mobile.
A rule,
yeah,
because mobile is where it's more constrained and more difficult for all the reasons we know. I mean, if you go, it might be worthwhile, Leo, to show if you go to the demo page on mobile. That's where you can really get a sense of what they're trying to do.
That's ampproject.org or
no. If you go to
on
Kevin's. Your mobile, go on g.co/amp demo.
Okay,
on your mobile phone.
All right. G.co.
Use Chrome.
I'm using Chrome.
It works on others, but yeah.
Yeah, but then you've got to
one
do
word.
a search for the right type, don't you? Which is kind of weird.
Search for Obama once you're there.
Oh, so this is a version of Google.
Yes.
In AMP.
In AMP. So go to News tab and search for Google.
Go to the News tab.
Search for Obama, let's say.
Just do a search.
Yeah, just search. There's no... Okay, Obama, yeah. And now this is an accelerated mode that Pickle's demo, yeah.
If there is a carousel, it's the carousel that is AMP-ready content. So click on one of those, and the first time it loads, it's got to load the library.
There's a little rendering error. Okay.
Oh, okay. Oops. So go back to the first one.
Yeah.
Load that.
This is the Wall Street Journal.
That didn't work. Hang on.
Bing.
Yeah, that loads very fast.
Now swipe left.
We don't know what that is, but swipe left.
Swipe left.
Oh.
Okay. Swipe left.
So you can see why news organizations might like
Bing.
this.
Swipe left.
Yeah.
Because
it's preloading the carousel.
It is pre-fetching.
So it's a combination of things. It's prohibiting a lot of web stuff like forms and embeds, and in fact the video and audio tag. You have to use Google's own tags for that.
Right. So that's the other bit that's slightly sketchy about this is you have to replace video and audio tags with AMP
tags
and image tags even.
Yeah.
With
image tags too. Oh.
AMP image, AMP video, AMP audio.
And what is happening when I do that? What is going on with this video? Is that so that can cache it? Is that the purpose of that?
It means that it's running JavaScript under Google's control to show that. So presumably that means that they can cache it. It's not completely clear how that works yet because I haven't actually.
And the paranoid among us might say, and so they could put a pre-roll in there, or if they can actually gather information about you.
Yeah, but
I assume
they were asked about data and said they're not gathering any more data now through this than they would otherwise.
Which is a non-answer, by the way.
I think they should have a very clear policy about that and put that out there.
Because you are giving, basically, Google is now a third party that has access to everything.
Well, no, not
But they already
necessarily.
are. Google already crawls your entire website, so there's not a big difference there.
Yeah, exactly.
The difference is they're crawling me. I mean, they're getting information about me.
No, Leo. Google does not have to be the caching agent for this. You do not have to go through Google's cache. You're using Google's
but
scripts.
Jeff, if I use Google's script
Google's
for the video tag, it's going through Google to whoever's cache it is. And at that point, they have access. They're a third party that has access to every bit of information about me. The browser knows. Right, Jeff?
You should ask Kevin that.
Right, Kevin?
We're sneezing there.
Google video tag doesn't mean Google's serving the video.
No, it means, though, it goes through Google. The JavaScript comes through.
It does with the images. No, with the images, what they are doing is they're taking the image you give them and rendering other versions. And they said that. I'm not sure whether they said that for the video, but they definitely said it for the images.
Well, they're doing the same thing with video and audio as well. So presumably, when I see video here and I play it, I'm invoking some Google-specific JavaScript. I don't know if it's open code or not. Some Google-specific JavaScript that then loads the video, and maybe they're doing some caching or whatever, or maybe
they said that it could all come from your server directly.
Not the JavaScript.
You can't run JavaScript. So basically, they're taking JavaScript away from you.
So the script that's used to run any audio, video, or images is loaded from Google's servers. Is that correct?
Yes.
Well, wait, Kevin. Let's be clear here. The video isn't loaded. The script is part of the library.
Matter. It doesn't matter, Jeff, because as soon as I load anything from Google's servers, they're now a third party involved in this transaction that has access to everything in my browser.
Okay, but I'm just asking. There's a library of scripts once loaded from any source. Doesn't have to be from Google, from any source. They're Google approved. That doesn't mean that every time you use any one of those scripts, it calls back to Google, does it?
Well, yeah, because it kind of. It's actually not clear because a lot of it's running locally, so I'd have to work that out. But
see, that's what I'm saying. I think
the first time, so it's loaded once and then running locally from then on.
Exactly. That's how it speeds up. Exactly. That's the whole point. And listen, it's less limited than instant articles, because instant articles you are serving directly from Facebook's servers, and you're using Facebook's structure, and Facebook gets all the data. So it's less limited than that. I don't know the details enough to know the answer. These are very good and important questions. There was a moment after,
and I should make it clear, I don't really care, but this is what people are going to say immediately. In fact, my first thought about this is, well, this is Google's just making sure that they get all the data they want.
No, they were asked, but I don't think so. I think they've gotten such hot water if they did, especially after the things we'll talk about from Europe in a few minutes.
But there's no way you can tell.
The problem is this was done, and there was a conversation afterwards with the head, the brilliant technology head of one media company, came over to Bez and said, they dumbed down the presentation to what they think is a media reporter's level. But you have people like Danny Sullivan sitting there saying, "Whoa, what?" Because they're speaking in kiddie language.
Well, if somebody cares, they can go to the GitHub repository and look at exactly what's happening.
Right. We were asking questions right there, but they were talking down, and that's not what a Dave Besbris normally does. They should have talked up. They should have answered these questions in full, so we wouldn't have the kind of questions we have right now, and don't have to dig into the GitHub to get these answers. But my understanding is and again, I'm not technical. I don't know well enough. It's a library that is shared. That's the essence of this. Now, just because it's a library that Google has approved, I do not know. I do not know the answer to this, but I do not know whether there's any reason for any of that to ping back to Google just because it's a library that Google put out.
Here's the bit I was talking about, Kevin Marks. You can add a tag development =1 to the URL, and then it will check your AMP HTML.
Right. So I tried that, but it didn't seem to do anything, so I'm not sure.
And as you mentioned, initially they didn't mention SVG, but they have later included that. That is among the allowed.
Yes. That was my first reaction. I was reading through this morning, which I got up, because they did this thing some god-awful hour early in the morning in New York, let alone in West Coast time. So I was like kind of groggy and before my coffee reading it, and it said, SVG is on the banned list. And I'm like, what? How can you, and swore at Google on and Twitter. And to their credit, they're responding very quickly saying, oh, we forgot to update. No, we do allow.
We didn't put that in.
SVG.
So I understand the idea of, okay, here's best practices. Don't use this, this, and this. I think they go. I understand why they banned JavaScript, but if you've ever tried to use the web with no script on and blocked JavaScript, you see that it breaks everything. So,
well, no, there are some things break, some doesn't. This was the point that the JSDR thing that Tantec was talking about, is that the web should work without JavaScript.
Yes.
If you're doing it right, you should have declarative stuff in HTML,
yes. There's a no
layout in
script
CSS,
tag.
and then JavaScript enhancing it to make it more interactive. And one of the anti-patterns.
It should degrade gracefully.
Well, no, it should enhance itself. It should be progressive enhancement.
Okay.
Degrade gracefully is framing it backwards. You should start with something that works as pure HTML. You should add beauty to it with CSS, and then you should add interactivity to it.
Except nobody does that.
But no, people. This is. There's a separate movement that does this. This is the Web Standards Project.
There's quite a purist
there's a strand
movement
here, right?
Yes, yeah.
The state of HTML is actually a lot better than it was 10 years ago because of the Web Standards Project and WG and the groups that have brought through HTML5 and the better markup that is in there. So you can do a lot of good stuff with declarative HTML these days. CSS has also got better, which means that you can do good subtle layout stuff, and the voodoo you had to do is gradually being reduced as we get into continuously updating browsers and the things roll through. However, and so there is this anti-pattern, which is all the news sites have sold their souls to ad tech and sold our browsers to ad tech, which means that for every news page we read, it downloads 10 times as much other stuff and uses up.
Isn't that kind of what this is a response to?
So this is a response to that.
Yeah.
It's also a response to, and it's also a response to the we can do this faster in a non-web way. And then there was a whole raft of articles that by Farhad Manjoo at New York Times and someone at The Verge, and was saying the mobile web is terrible. Look at how bad our site is. It's like, yes, look at how bad your site is. The mobile web is just fine. You need to stop your site being crap. And this is Google taking that on board, but also saying, okay, we're Google. Here's some tooling. Here's a way to stop your site being crap. Here's some stuff that works. And overall, that is a good thing. There is another anti-pattern that's going on, which is the so-called single-page web app worldview, where the idea is instead of actually rendering HTML pages and then adding CSS and JavaScript to enhance them, you just send JavaScript down to the browser, run the JavaScript, and generate the HTML and CSS and everything from that. It's a development style that's grown up over the last few years, and it was, I think Twitter switched to it for a while and then backed away in horror and went back to doing it in a more sensible way. But there's still this pattern that, and there are things that this does make sense for. The classic example being Gmail, where that is actually an application that you're running. It's not a series of pages. It's loading stuff in.
Yeah, try using Gmail without
even Gmail has an HTML version.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. They're not saying that everything on the web should do this. Like Gmail can't be publicly cached.
It's an app. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
They know they're fully aware of that.
So basically what they're saying is that for the things that should really be static pages, here's a pattern for doing static pages.
Exactly.
And if you do it this way, we will guide you through the path so that you can still inject certain approved ad networks and tracking things, but we as Google will vet them for you so they're not like evil things that take over everyone's browser. So, and that is something, that is something that Google has definitely.
You don't have to use it. You don't have to use it, but there's two issues here.
Yeah.
Right. One is Gingras was asked point blank, are you going to advantage AMP content, particularly? Right. Good question.
In the search results.
In the search results and in the carousels and such. And the carousels right now, it is just AMP content, but I don't know where that goes. But what they said was, no, we will not advantage AMP content. However, as you all know, we do advantage faster content, and this is a way to make all your stuff faster. So that's one issue with this, is that are you motivated to go to it? The second one is you're still going to have non-AMP pages, whether because they shouldn't be AMP at all or because you just have them because you have them. And one thing that they have not done yet is to get it so that when Twitter sees a link, or I put a link in my blog that's a non-AMP link, when the AMP version exists, they want to have a means to check and say, does an AMP version exist? And if so, I will serve the AMP version to make it faster than the non-AMP version. But you will still have AMP and non-AMP versions of tons of content. You will have some tons of content that will not be appropriate for AMP, But as Kevin just said, there's tons and tons and tons of basically old newspaper pages that are static content that are horribly wasteful in the experience and cost you time and cost you bandwidth, and cost you data and cost you all kinds of things. This should reduce that. That's the way I see it. And to me, there are then further implications about how you can build different experiences, because once a link is fast, that fundamentally changes the idea of forcing people to go to the link. That says, let the content come to the person rather than making the person go to the content. But yes, these are issues.
So as soon as, so if you're creating a blog or a web page, should you use this technology, and how would you use this technology?
If you're using WordPress, for example, they were there today. It will. And I don't know about old templates and how that works, but WordPress will make it so that your stuff becomes AMP ready, and you'll be using it. And then the next question is, when you link to something, you're going to want to link to the AMP version, because you're going to want your reader to have a better experience, goes the argument, right? And they'll see the thing immediately, and they won't be likely to say, "Oh, well, I was up that other site 5 minutes ago."
Especially in Twitter.
Right.
Yeah.
And so, no, I'm still here, and I saw that page. That was great. I saw it quickly. I read it. Thank you very much. Boom. Next. And I think that changes the idea of how you start to develop what you develop. It changes your mind. And what I want to see happen, too, is I want to see not just full pages done this way. I want to see a world where there are AMP-ready modules that can be loaded into things like embeddable tweets, like cards, like Vox's card carousels that can be loaded in this way. Yeah, basically you're doing that.
But that's kind of what they're doing in the web browser there, right? It's a little hard to see exactly how that's working because it's on the mobile thing and I haven't had a chance to pull it apart yet. But the thing they're doing, the search demo, showing you the pages and letting you slide through them, is basically there's two things going on. One is they're requiring you to put in a bunch of markup in the front that generates the previews that show up there. And they're being a bit restrictive about what markup they'll take for that, but we can have that argument with them later. I'm not going to open that can of worms up now. So they're saying you need to put in this is a news article. It has a title, it has an image, and it has your logo. And then they show that as in the result previews at the top. And then I think they have to bless you to say yes, you're actually a partner in this, or you're worthy of being shown in this carousel, which is another hegemonic thing to some extent. And then they are then using preload. So when they load those little thumbnails, they are then preloading the pages, I think, into iframes. It's not quite clear. And then as you scrub left and right, you're getting those preloaded pages showing up quickly. And the advantage of that is that, the advantage of them making them small is that those iframes don't end up like making your browser fall over and die, which can be a problem when you generate lots of little separate pages. That was my sense of what's going on there, but there's probably some more subtle stuff going on behind the scenes there.
Is this just for
works.
text?
So in effect, that demonstrates doing that.
Is this just for text-heavy content? Should I amplify my pages on Twit?
Not so much the homepage, Leo, but yeah,
yes.
If I want to link directly to a page that has this episode in there, you want it to come up quickly on mobile, and people will be able to start watching the video immediately.
Right.
Now, what all that entails when you have so much video, I do not know.
Yeah, I can't. I mean, it's not going to happen because it's a Node.js website. Coding it into AMP would be a bit of a challenge. Well, it's more than just putting a header in there, right?
No, it's basically changing your template. So if you've got a templating system that you generate your page with, so you would have another template that's the AMP version of each page.
Right, exactly.
Okay.
And you're using the library. You're basically using a Java. As I understand it, Kevin, tell me if I'm wrong here, because I often am. You're basically using a different JavaScript library that's been pre-approved and pre-fetched onto users' devices.
Yeah, that's the theory. Yeah, it's a fairly big JavaScript library. I think I haven't actually profiled this stuff yet, but it seems to have a bit of heft to it. But and it's implementing the custom element stuff drop-ins, which means that that's only native on Chrome and has to use patches on other browsers. So there'll be more JavaScript running in non-Chrome. So this will actually be more responsive on Chrome than it is on other browsers, I suspect.
Is this Web 3.0, Kevin?
No, that's just a nonsense name.
Thank you, Kevin.
I mean, I mean, basically, this is using some existing web technologies to try and generate better web pages, but it is also firewalling off certain web technologies. When you take away the image tag and the video tag and the audio tag, and replace them with a proprietary version, you're losing a lot of the flexibility of them, and that's well.
Kevin, is it also true? The question is, how is this standard going to be maintained? Will Google be open sufficiently to new things that occur and new needs around new content presentation types? And will they be, a beneficent dictator on this standard? I asked Bez, is this something that should be added to, because I'm trying to get my head around still, should be added to the next HTML standard? He said, no, it's just HTML. It's just the web.
It's a subset.
It's a.
Although one does wonder why you wouldn't.
Well, it's always you always use a subset.
It's always a subset, right? So it's just an execution of it.
Yeah.
I'm trying to load this on my iPhone and on my iPod and realizing that this thing is too small.
I feel like this is a complete non-starter, but okay.
Really? Okay,
Yeah.
what's what?
Well, it'll be fine for big news organizations and Vox and people like that who have full-time engineers on staff who have apparently enough cycles to create a completely separate template for their content that is, a Google standard. And there'll be a benefit, I presume, to them because stuff will load a little bit faster. Seems like the things you're giving up are not insignificant.
Well, okay, but I mean, I understand you from your perspective, and you just
I'm not doing it. I wouldn't do this in a million years.
Well, I
don't have the resources to suddenly adopt a new standard.
But Kevin, what would it take to just all you're doing is having the Node.js generate a page in a different template that is then
it's not trivial coding. Well, because it's not trivial. I'd have to have an engineer do it. It's not.
You have to have an engineer do it. Yeah.
It's not. It's how many days of design and coding and testing is it?
I'll let you do when I've done it.
Yeah.
So I mean, so far I've got something up.
But it's easy to do what you're doing, which is to go from scratch, from a new page, and do this. I could do that. That's trivial. To take an existing site and amplify it.
Yeah, the challenge is going to be the basic page stuff should just go through. The challenge is going to be how you deal with image embedding and video embedding and things like that. And there'll be an assumption that you'll have a module that will handle those for you. And so that's it's something that Medium and BuzzFeed and so on will, and WordPress clearly will have the tools to help you do that. But as a individual, you'll have to work out how to do this. So it is extra work. And if your site is a custom layout, you'll basically have to have another parallel set of layouts. So it has the side file problem that you have to generate another version of your site, and then you have to test twice as many pages. So yeah, there is that.
In other words, it's not going to happen. It's going to, just like Facebook and all these different initiatives. This is for an elite, and this is one of the things that kind of bugs me. An elite group of web publishers who
well, it's at both ends. It's also people who aren't elite who use things like WordPress and rely on them to do it for them and have the structure there. You're in a large middle ground.
In a sense, it's elite because it's WordPress has to do it. If WordPress is willing to do the work, then I guess I just get it for free.
Then millions of sites on WordPress are able to get the benefit.
Yes.
You're in a position where you paid a fortune to build something just finished.
Would there be limitations on things I could do on my WordPress blog if I amplify it? In other words, are there things I'd have to be cautious about doing?
Well, so for example, because it won't let you load. So I said that in my post. It won't let me load client-side JavaScript, which means that my fragmentations code that lets you link to a word within the page doesn't run. And it also means that my web mentions code that runs client-side to fetch the people tweeting about my post doesn't run. So it is cutting down the functionality of my site, and those are progressive enhancements that I have on my website. My website is mostly static, but it has these little JavaScript things that enhance it and make it more interactive. So they are cutting that out, and in order to get this to work, I would have to go through the process of getting those scripts approved by Google and being put into their system. And that's that is the overhead part. So
and Google's now a gatekeeper in some respects.
In effect, Google is becoming a gatekeeper of which scripts can run, and so they've already blessed Twitter's embeds and Vine embeds and YouTube embeds.
It just strikes me as the usual suspects here. I feel like we're moving into this era where there's an elite set of publishers, the usual suspects.
It's a really good point.
And the rest of us are just going to go, what?
Well, the thing is, we've sort of edged our way towards this. So we now have 3 competing markup formats and 3 competing browsers, effectively.
That's always worked well, hasn't it?
Yeah, that's the discouraging part of this. Now, they're not they're not completely terrible and opaque, but they are different. But no, so what we now know is that Facebook's is basically HTML, except that they've got some rules about which markup you should use, and they're quite complicated rules. There are specific things you have to do to embed maps and images and things, and there are certain class names they require. Google's is broader HTML, except that they ban some of the most common tags possible, including image, and say use our special magic image tags that aren't quite image tags, that have different layout structures and have different CSS rules.
And goes through JavaScript that is created and goes through Google.
Well, yeah, but the Facebook one goes to Facebook, the Gab one goes to Apple. So
I'm not saying it's better or worse than Facebook or Apple's. I think they have the same. They all have the same problem.
They all have the same problem, exactly. So, and then the Apple one, there's Apple News format, which they have not even published yet. So we don't know what that's going to look like. It might be like the weird XML nonsense they came up with Apple TV. It may not even be an HTML variant at all. We don't know. Currently, what they're taking is RSS2 feeds with HTML in, and certain constraints on what you have to put in your RSS feeds. So there's some ability to map stuff back and forth. So yeah, the challenge is, as a publisher, you may now have to generate 4 versions of your stuff, and instead of 1 or they were probably kind of generating 2. They were generating a desktop version, a mobile version, and gradually they merged this into 1. And now you've got to generate a Google-friendly one, a Facebook-friendly one, an Apple-friendly one, as well as your base one.
Well, okay, that's the other question I asked. So I asked Corey Haig, who's at Washington Post, and I said, or I asked the panel who spoke, and I said, what about Facebook's instant articles? Is there any reason it can't come together as a standard here, so that when you publish something that's AMP ready, it's also instant articles ready? And she said that no, there's no reason that they couldn't come together, and you couldn't end up with a standard. What basically the other thing that's happened here is that left open to the desires of crappy publishers, we junked up the web terribly. And Google has made
that's being handled now.
Well, no, but that's the thing. Yeah, so this is. Yes, the publishers have screwed up, and mostly because they will say yes to any snake oil salesman who promises them more ads, and so they end up with a lot of craft in them. And so we've got 3 companies who are technically competent trying to patch this, but they're doing it in their own weird ways, and so it is, and they're not doing it. They need to come together.
Well, Apple, I'd pull off to the side. Apple is just doing its own closed world, its fenced world around news, and trying to do what Apple does there. I would say that
why isn't the reaction of content creators just going to be, oh, screw it, I'm going to make an app?
Well, because they've already tried that.
Because nobody's going to download apps, and the effort it takes to get people to download an app and remember to use it and use it, the percentage of app usage versus download is tiny, and I know that across websites. If you're really, really devoted to it, I know from every newspaper publisher I know, those who do use the apps are platinum users. They're wonderful. They're loyal. But the proportion is tiny.
Right.
It's a tiny conversion.
So these publishers feel like the benefit to them is that the page will load so much faster that what?
More people will link to them and more people will see their content.
Really?
And basically the way I see it, Leo.
Do you think people are aware of that?
Oh, the speed difference?
Like when I put in a link, I'm going to say, gee, I'm going to put in a link because I prefer the speed of this link over that link.
Here's what I would do. If I were like Real Clear Politics, or I know Jonathan at Nuzzle is excited about this, and he's talked about it today. But let's just say I'm Real Clear Politics, which is nothing but links. Or if I were Drudge, right, or Huffington Post, let's just say RCP. I would do a new aggregator that was nothing but AMP content. So the experience to my user is as if I never leave the website. I just new page.
And how is that better than an app? You just told me nobody's downloading apps. Now I have to have a new
because it's on the open web. It's a link away. It's not a download and a remember.
I'm going to predict that all 3 of these initiatives will be dead in the water within a year. I don't see it happening.
I'm going to disagree.
Let's talk in a year about AMP.
Yeah, okay. It could be Wave. It could be Wave.
It's not even Wave. It's
not. It's very simple. All it is a bunch of standards.
Yeah,
it could be Fast Flip.
It's a proposal. Yeah, it's Fast Flip, or there's a million of them.
But you do have a host of really major publishers up on that stage today. If you look at the list of them,
they're so freaking desperate. They'll do anything at this point. They're the same publishers who said, yeah, what ad technology do you have that I can use? It's the same people.
You know what else I would do, Leo? I would, if I started a media brand today, I would basically start it sightless.
Yeah, I saw that in your post, and I disagree madly, but...
Okay, well, I'll give you my statement and then answer back. So what I'm saying here is that if you recognize that fewer than 10% on major news sites, apart from the New York Times, fewer than 10% of the audience in a day sees the homepage. They don't care about our packaging. They're not coming through that. They go
deep links, yeah.
And so if I could have my content, my value that I create on Facebook, directly through Twitter, through other websites, that people can experience me everywhere, and I don't have to have this marketing cost of constantly bringing people to me. This is basically BuzzFeed's business model, folks. This is, in essence, BuzzFeed. BuzzFeed says we can make our crap viral, and advertisers, we can make your crap viral too. And we don't care if people come to our site, really, because if they see us on Facebook, and if they see us on Instagram, and they see us everywhere, hallelujah, our mission is solved. So they're the first web property built post-web or UberWeb, post-site, where yeah, if you come to BuzzFeed, fine, but you counter it anywhere. And that's the lesson the publishers should start to learn from BuzzFeed. Not that you should do cats, not that you should do listicles, but that you should recognize that you go to the readers where the readers are and build a business around that rather than still trying to operate in the old business model, which says, number one, I've got to market like crazy to get people to come to me. And then number two, all I do is take the 30 seconds I have you at best and throw as many ads in front of you as I can to sell them as volume, as CPM until you go away.
Right.
I should encounter you wherever I can. Now, what's missing from that equation is we still need to build a relationship with someone on knowledge, relevance, and value. So I need data back saying, oh, that's Leo. Leo likes this. I'll give Leo technology, right? But that's where I'm going. All
well,
right,
you
so Kevin,
see that role to Twitter and Facebook. You let them do that.
I'm saying it's already happened, Leo. Horse, barn, horizon.
No,
gone.
I agree. No, I agree.
Gone. Gone. So Kevin, how am I FOS?
I will agree with bits of that, and I will disagree with bits of it. So the nobody goes to your homepage bit is true. I think I agree with that. I haven't been to the homepage of the New York Times in 10 years. And that's also why Twitter's Moments thing is weird, because that's a very much a front page of the New York Times kind of layout model. Yep. It's definite retrograde step, that feels. However, the value of saying people can get to my stuff on these other sites doesn't mean that your pages should not exist as web pages. It just means that you make sure that they will actually show on those other sites well, and they will bring you back.
You're right. But
BuzzFeed does
get
clicks
necessarily coming to your site to see that web page. That web page is going to where you are. So yes, it doesn't kill the web page, but the idea that you have to go to a site to get to it.
Yeah. So I don't think we're as far apart as you were implying. Okay. So because
I didn't say you were pageless. I said you were closer to siteless.
Yes, but you have to put the page on a site. They have to have.
So you have a URL. Somewhere. It's an archive and a URL generator.
Yeah,
but it's not the heart of your media business.
Fair.
Okay.
Kill your homepage is a thing.
So where did I mess up?
So, what you said sounded more like reportedly. So what reportedly said was we don't have a website, and they don't. They have like barely anything there still, but they spend all their time tweeting stuff. And that I can see what they're trying to do, but I'm less clear that that's a...
Yeah, you're right there, Kevin. You're absolutely right there. I listen, what do I do for a living? I go too far. And so what I'm trying to do is to blow open the brains of media people who think that we still make a product that looks like a newspaper or a magazine, and it's called a website and has pages, and I'm comfortable with that. And I'm saying, okay, you might still have pages, but you've gone up in a drone and you've spread them, floated all over the world, and people pick them up and go to them wherever they are. And you've got to make a business out of that.
Right.
So you're saying don't make a destination anymore.
Because it's not anymore. It's already not.
The destination now is owned by Facebook.
Destination's a bad metaphor there, right? It's because you may
it's where your users are.
But you don't go, you don't start there. It's actually a starting point. It's no longer, the website for news sites is no longer the starting point. The starting point is Facebook and Twitter et al.
So it's
and
foolish
now
to
that
consider.
content will appear there.
So it's foolish to consider web technologies for making content. Frankly,
No, it's not.
You should make content native to
not.
whatever. Well, I mean, it can be a web technology as Facebook.
Articles, you're right. If it's Facebook instant articles, you're right. You're not making a web page.
You should make it native to whatever, wherever. So your job as a
web page.
Your job as a content creator.
Yeah, it's not your web page.
Your job as a content creator is to figure out where your audience is, and go there and use whatever native tools are available to you in that place until such time as your audience moves on, and then you chase them somewhere else.
And have a relationship with them.
And at
such
that time,
they come
it's
to
a good idea to have your web pages so that they're not just lost in the silent that just died. You know, this
makes sense if you're a newspaper or magazine. I mean, clearly that model is disintegrating. What about broadcast media? Because today you still have to go to Channel 9 to watch stuff on Channel 9, although I imagine that's going to start changing.
Sure, it does. I go to YouTube to watch John Oliver.
I haven't, I've got an over-the-air TV. I don't have cable, and if I want to watch anything, I go to Amazon, Netflix, YouTube.
Okay.
I mean, Leo, you're hit on exactly the right thing. Joshua Benton, who's brilliant at Neiman Media Lab, is on Twitter right now talking about how it's going to break all your JS you've ever published, kill your YouTube embeds, break all your Twitter embeds. I don't think that's necessarily true, and so on. So what they didn't deal with this morning, which is absolutely important, what's the cost of this to people, and how does it get done? I think that's a huge point. I think you're absolutely right.
Well, what I see is if you are a content creator, you have you have two jobs. One is to create the content, and then you're going to spend a significant amount of time putting that content in a form that can be consumed by.
No, you're going to you're going to spend a significant amount of time doing that now to make a beautiful site and have a homepage and all that stuff.
Well, you do that. No, that's actually a once-only thing. Then you use that.
Well, it's the same thing here. You're going to take this content and put it through a sieve to
No, but the problem is the web has been around for a while. It's Facebook today. It's YouTube today. Who knows what it's going to be tomorrow? Your audience is going to move around, right?
You're going to make an architecture where you republish your stuff wherever it works. Now you can't just do that as I'm going to take the same 800-word article and put it there, right? BuzzFeed's smarter than that. And you're going to say, I'm going to do something different for Snapchat than I'm going to do for here. Yes, you got to do appropriate to the context of the user's need at that moment. But having said that, if you have the same 800-word article, what you're going to do is hit a button, and it's going to go onto a web page, sure, and it's going to go on to an AMP page, and it's going to go on to a Facebook page, and it's going to go on to Medium, and it's going to go on to whatever else. And what you're setting up is that structure to publish once, distribute many.
It's kind of interesting. It's really no accident that when people talk about Vox, they talk less about the content of Vox and more about the platform of Vox.
Bingo.
Bingo. But that's, as a content creator, that's kind of depressing because basically.
I understand the same with BuzzFeed. Yeah, so BuzzFeed has an authoring.
It's a platform. Who cares what the content is? The content is, frankly, the least important part of it. It's about having the platform.
Yeah, I get in this argument with my
back and forth.
Yeah, it is. This is where my friends Emily Bell and Clay Shirky and Jay Rosen will yell at me, and I don't want to misquote them. But a lot of people these days say, well, you have to have your own CMS. And I'm saying, no, we've messed that up in publishing lots and lots and lots of times. I go back to the year 1973 when the Tribune had such a disaster and I was there. They assigned their Pulitzer Prize-winning investigative reporters to investigate their own bad system. We think we know technology. We mess it up all the time. No, there's something more controversial here, Leo. In essence, what you're doing is you're seeding and saying Facebook is my CMS.
Right.
Google AMP is my CMS.
Right.
That's scary, but if I were going to start a news service from absolute scratch today, and Kevin, you're right. Unlike reportedly, I would still make pages, but I would make them in this way where I would say, good, yeah, I got a site, but it's more of an archive. It's more about what the hell is this thing he made? Oh, I can go there and see what it is. Okay. But I really like it when I get to it on Facebook or it came up again on Twitter. That's where we got to go. And we're not prepared for that. And when we do that, and here's the hard part, here's what's absolutely missing from both Facebook and Google. And this is the critical thing that I say. We have no mechanism to have a direct relationship with you as an individual, to know what your interests are, to be able to give you greater relevance and value. And if we don't get that, then we will indeed go out of business and we cede the entire value of what we do to those platforms. But if right now, as they're trying to leapfrog each other and be our friends in publishing for this period of time, which again was caused by the Germans and caused by the publishers I've yelled about, they brought them to the table. Then what we have to negotiate for is interest data back to us in a way that respects privacy, gives users full transparency, that gives them full knowledge and control of what's what. And we can do that right.
I think about YouTube is in this. If you put your stuff on YouTube, you really devalue it. Of course, that's where your audience is, but it's very hard. YouTube now controls not only the content, but the monetization of the content. You've devalued yourself, essentially.
I could argue, Leo, that if you started this company today, you could do it. What would it look like to do it? Forgetting for a moment YouTube.
It wouldn't work. I can tell you right now. And I understand John Oliver being on YouTube, but I think the goal is to push you back to the show, is it not? Or, I mean, how do they feel if the only way you consume John Oliver is on YouTube? I don't think HBO's happy about that. I think they're still seeing it as a promotional vehicle.
John Oliver is probably a bad example because it is subscriber supported. But if you took Trevor Noah,
the ads aren't in YouTube; they're just the clips. I like watching Trevor Noah on YouTube, but it doesn't benefit.
There's ads there.
Comedy Central.
There's ads there.
There's ads. There's YouTube ads. There's no Comedy Central.
Yeah,
ads.
and they got a revenue
and which
split.
YouTube keeps a huge share of. In fact, and it's very hard to monetize.
But at the same
time,
Trevor Noah,
do you think the Daily Show makes as much money on YouTube as it makes on Comedy Central?
But it's the wrong question. It's like saying,
it's not
do you
the wrong
still
question.
Sell albums? Do you still sell cassette tapes?
Yeah, I understand.
It's reality.
Okay, then you're really devaluing content intensely, and it becomes all about the platform, and the platform owner makes all the money, and then it's slavery for the content creator. It's a feudal system.
My argument is.
It's a feudal system.
Content. What we're doing right now isn't content. What we have to recognize in media is it's a relationship business, and we don't see that yet. Those platforms
and what I think the platforms understand is it's a feudal system, and they own the big domains, and they're going to let you work in the fields. And thank you very much.
Now is our time to negotiate. Now that's what I'm saying. I mean, now is our time.
How can we negotiate? We already lost.
Because again,
do they need our content?
They need our friendliness in Europe.
I think there's always going to be somebody who'll be glad to be a serf.
The other half of this is you don't know who's going to be famous.
Yeah. Yes.
So sorry, the other half of this is you don't know who's going to be successful and who's going to be famous, and that is the other half of the media equation is you're never quite sure what's going to take off and what's going to crash, and that has been amplified by the Facebookization and BuzzFeedization of everything. In that somebody did a very good article about this a couple of months ago, where they said, what are the most popular things on Facebook? If you look at it from month to month, there's no pattern to it at all. It is just like noise, and some things take off and some things don't. And the BuzzFeeds and so on are sitting there chasing the zeitgeist and trying to work out what it is that will get them there this month.
Well, I, for one, don't want to work on Maggie's farm anymore. We're going to take a break and change the subject. Well, there's lots more to talk about. Jeff Jarvis is here. He's passionate about this. As you can see. And Kevin Marks. And our show today brought to you by FreshBooks.
We're mugging both of us.
I know. You're so funny. You guys crack me up. FreshBooks is, here's a pop quiz for you freelancers. Those of you who make your living billing for time and expense and expertise. Which of the following tasks represent your favorite part of freelancing? Formatting and sending invoices. Ooh, I love doing that. Collecting receipts. Tracking expenses. Following up with clients who don't pay you on time. Look, let's face it. None of the above. Those are all the worst parts of being a freelancer. FreshBooks makes it fun. I know it's hard to believe. It makes it easy. And most importantly to you, it gets you paid faster. FreshBooks is a simple cloud accounting service that's giving thousands of freelancers like you the tools you need to save time billing and get paid faster. It's very easy. It's not for numbers people. You don't have to be a numbers person. Although your accountant, or if you're your accountant, you will love the reports you get from FreshBooks. But the real simple process of creating and sending invoices, getting paid faster, FreshBooks even automatically lets slow pays know and hurries them up. You will get paid faster. People actually just hate paying as much as you hate billing. It just streamlines the whole process. Everybody's happy. And if you ever have a question, help is free forever. You can always count on them. The FreshBooks award-winning support rock stars are great. FreshBooks saved my life, and I want you to try it. I think it might save yours. You don't have to believe me. Just go to freshbooks.com/twig. Get the free 30-day trial, and just try it. Try it this month for your bills. All I ask is that you use This Week in Google in the How Did You Hear About Us field. Just put that in there. And you're going to, I'm telling you, it's going to change your life. Freshbooks.com/twig. All right. What do you want to talk about next? I'm going to let you guys choose. I knew AMP would be the subject. And in fact, I came in with an open mind, and it was closed by the discussion.
Yeah, that's that. Well, it's a good thing we had Kevin here, because Kevin actually knows his stuff, and I don't.
Well, it's perfect. No, it's perfect, because I think you understand the issues publishers are facing.
All right, so while we're on controversial stuff, let's go back to Europe.
Okay.
The top European court turned down.
What?
Oh, it's a biggie. It's a biggie. The data safe harbor has been killed by the European court. So what this means is that any American technology company who's operating in Europe is going to have to store user data in Europe. And it gets worse. Oh, but wait, there's more. Because there is no single standard across all of Europe, they're going to have to treat each of the 20, however many countries it is, 27, 29, differently. So if you're in France, you're going to have to store the data in France in a certain way. And if you're in Germany, you're going to store it in Germany in a certain way. You're going to have to figure out who the heck is from where and what rules their data has. And you're not allowed to bring it here. Thank you, NSA. I mean, I'll blame the European court for what I think could be a potentially disastrous decision. But I certainly understand why it's there, because our dear American government and the NSA spooked the world, literally, on this. This is not appealable. It's another one of those situations where if you're Facebook and Google, and I was talking to somebody from an analytics company today. If you look at the caching that's going to be done for AMP pages, now to go back to that, how does that get done country by country? How do you split up your data? Part of the irony here is I'm going to have to say to you, do you live in France? I'm going to have to cookie you so I don't cookie you, because I need to cookie you to say where I store your stuff so I don't store your stuff.
Please check a box as to which country you are in. Don't worry, we won't remember that the next time you come here, so you'll have to check the box again.
This all comes from Max Schrems, who's an Austrian, I believe, who has made a big campaign against Facebook, and he won. And Edward Snowden said, oh, great victory from the court. And Schrems congratulated him because it's anti-NSA, but it's also anti-Silicon Valley in a potentially really difficult way. And just like Right to Be Forgotten, there are these implications to these decisions that are just simply not thought through. And it's uh-oh time. Any reaction, Kevin?
I worry that we're going to get to this point where we're going backwards, where the national borders will not only stop, traffic and people, but it'll stop data.
Data. That's exactly what this means. All kinds of ways.
Right. Well, the challenge here is that it's a jurisdiction issue. It's a which country's law apply to this data, and they've had this sort of hand wave that says, oh, you can do what you like. We won't worry about that. And this has come home to roost now because there are very different laws in the US and the EU about how companies are supposed to handle personal identifiers.
So what we need is an international treaty.
Yeah, because those go so well, like TPP.
Well, but that's what those things are for, right? Resolving differences in national laws.
That would be a way to do this, a way to handle this. And the challenge is...
This was a treaty. This was an agreement. That was the point, but it got rejected. It was an international safe harbor.
Because it violated... It wasn't actually... Was it a treaty or was it an agreement? I mean, it was a memo of understanding, I think. But it was... I think so. That's right. But the point is that just like the U.S. Supreme Court will occasionally say something that affects lots of businesses, the EU court has just done one of those here, and so they will now have to either legislate at the EU level to try and work this out, or and in the meantime there'll be a lot of chaos and noise as they try and work out what's going on.
By the way, don't blame Snowden for this. Blame the NSA for this. Snowden just revealed it.
I just what I said. I blame the NSA. I don't blame Snowden.
Yeah, there are people in the chat room said, "Oh, Snowden, that traitor." No, Snowden just.
I disagree with Snowden that this is an unalloyed victory for good sense. Yes, it's a victory against the NSA. Yes, it's a slap against them. But if you see a larger picture of the world, and I understand why he doesn't, then I think this still brings issues.
Is there any way to solve this?
Well, I mean, this is the challenge. So the challenge has been that the NSA was supposed to not spy on American persons, but was allowed to spy on overseas persons. And the British and the Germans had the opposite law, and a bunch of the others as well. And so what they would then do was just spy on each other and exchange data with each other. So this is partly closing that loophole. So this is saying, okay, the fact that America is allowed to spy on Europeans in American law, but we decided we're actually going to enforce the European law about this, and probably the revelations about the NSA tapping the Greek Prime Minister's phone and the German Prime Minister's phone and those kinds of things are a part of this, because the EU politicians and the judges are not going to be comfortable with that point of view. And part of that is, yes, there's some anti-Americanism going on there, but part of it is the NSA has ridiculously overstepped the bounds of what's reasonable and aggrandized all data in the world to itself. And so this is at the start of the pushback against that. And the collateral damage is that a lot of these companies that depend on tracking data are going to be up against it too. So in another way, this is another blow against the sort of ad tech noise, but it's also potentially more of a blow because a lot of ad tech stuff isn't actually PII, although some of it is, and the sketchier parts of it are. This is also going to be complicated for Facebook and Google and so on, because they're going to have to work out how to partition their data centers and work out what they can move between them.
And it's not just the data center itself, it's also the structure of how do the lawyers are going to be going heyday on this, because how do you protect yourself from liability to say, oh, that's a French person, and I know that's a French person, but I don't know it, and this is how I have to behave with their data. Yeah, but and again, it's a scale thing. So Facebook and Google already have European data centers because they do it for latency reasons. But the data, but Kevin, tell me if I'm wrong here. They tend to be mirrors, yeah. Exactly. It flows freely. There's no partitioning of saying, aha, that's European data, that can't come to the U.S. And then what does it mean to come to the U.S.? The other question is, so I'm a French reader of the New York Times. So the New York Times has to worry about this too. It's not just Google and Facebook. The New York Times has said, how am I going to serve that reader? And I've got, American airline advertisers I want to send to them, and I've got American content, and I serve it from my American servers. And now you're telling me that I got these problems? We can talk about something happier now. But
okay, Vladimir Putin celebrating his 63rd birthday.
And telling Google to act better. Now,
I wouldn't have known about it if it weren't for this fabulous new feature. Thank you, Jack Dorsey. It's called Twitter Moments. It's funny because we've talked about this for a long time. Twitter's been working on this, and then Jack Dorsey becomes CEO, and boom, it comes out. You got a feeling that maybe Jack said, "What do you got? What do you got in the closet there? Yeah, let that out.
Maybe you look good.
Let that out." So you didn't sound too happy about it. I have to say, it's not, the web page doesn't really bring it to life. I think Facebook Moments is really designed for Twitter Moments is really designed for the mobile experience. Twitter's actually
found it. See, it's meh. All right, so I already know that 6,000 prisoners to be released. So I saw that.
Let me describe what it is. It's a curated special tab on your Twitter client, desktop or mobile, that contains, selected by a human, not because you follow people, it's not people you follow, tweets in a variety of areas: news, sports, entertainment, fun, and then there's a Today tab, which is, there's overlap, but this is today's news. It very much, if you're on mobile, very much has that Snapchat look to it. So when you click a story, you swipe right to see tweets, and obviously that's picture and video heavy. Putin, so for instance, Italian cell phone company Caviar made a special $3,000 iPhone 6 with the golden head of Vladimir Putin on it, obviously kissing up. Putin celebrated with playing ice hockey against NHL stars, unaccountably scoring 7 straight goals. Apparently, nobody wanted to be nobody wanted to be the guy who blocked. I think the goalie just went home. So this is an example. It's very Snapchat discovery, and then when you go on, you can read other stories, and then when you get to the end, it says you caught up. Check later today for updates or swipe more to explore. And you swipe and you'll get news, sports, entertainment, fun. It reminds me a lot of Snapchat. So what do you think, Jeff?
Meh.
Meh.
You know, I mean, fine, and I understand what they're trying to do, but it's kind of going against Twitter. It's creating a mass experience, everything the same for everybody. Maybe they'll make it more relevant in the future, but you know, so I know that I already know most of what I see in the news tab because I'm a news guy, and so I read lots of news stuff.
Oh, but you're unusual.
So I'm unusual. That's fine.
Yeah.
So I go to the entertainment tab, and I say, okay, there may be something there, but you know, one of the things there is that Homeland has its premiere. Well, yes, that was 3 nights ago.
Right.
And when I look at that, I see a half dozen tweets from people I don't know. That's kind of meaningless to me. That tells me that, yeah, okay, so Carrie's back. And I mean, what I think we have to go back to say, what's the user need for this experience? What Twitter is saying in part is we need to get people into Twitter who don't have friends on Twitter, so we got to give them something. I get that.
And the logged out
like
page
on
has
Twitter,
now got this at the top.
Right. I mean, what I like on Twitter is the fact that there's people I know whose wit and views I appreciate.
Well, that's okay. So you're an experience. So this is not probably for the experienced Twitter user. I think I can imagine the discussion that went on Twitter, which is how do we? People use Twitter. They sign up. They look at it. They don't understand what they're getting. They tried the suggested user list to help you craft a feed that has something you want in it. People don't get Twitter. We're not growing very fast anymore. What if we surfaced the best content on Twitter in one of these tabs?
So is this the way I want to find out that story? Right. So Texas executed another person. I look at those tweets. It's not as good as a news story. I mean, I say we've got to move past the article and change the article and change all this stuff. Fine. So I'm all open to new forms. But if you sit back and say, is this a superior experience to find out about that news?
Well, weren't you?
No.
Maybe I'm mistaken. You weren't big on Snapchat Discover either, right? Or were you?
No, I liked it.
So to me, it's exactly the same thing. A brand, not my friends. A brand creates a Snapchat. I think I'm gonna have to log in.
And there they do a much better job producing it.
Well, okay. This is maybe that just it's going to take a while to do it. The brands create it for Snapchat. So
at the end of the day, what's the value I get out of this as a user? In the long run, what's the essence of Twitter, right? So to me, to make that bridge work, what you've got to do is to say, I know you're interested. Here's stuff you'd be interested in, and give me a relevant Twitter. Twitter has to be relevant to me. Any old bozo talking, I don't care about. I want things that are somehow relevant to me because I know them, because I know the topic, because I care about the topic.
Well, what if you're a new user? How would they know what's relevant to you as a new user?
Sign in through Facebook. And take what that is.
Let's use Facebook signals.
Mm-hmm.
So here's the discovered tab. I feel like this is kind of a similar idea. I mean, it's a little more brand focused, so a brand is going to be more likely. And the brands, of course, create the content, so the content might be a little bit better. Certainly, the brand has an incentive to do that.
Here's another way to look at it.
But they say, by the way, Snapchat says this is hugely successful.
Yes. I hear huge traffic to publishers.
Great traffic, great engagement.
So here's the question, Leah. Another way to pose the question. Is the essence of Twitter to give me a news fact, or is the essence of Twitter to give me, to link me to a person I'm going to find interesting?
Well, here's the problem for Twitter. No one freaking knows.
Yeah.
So they've got to figure out a way to grow because... I mean, you and I have been using. When did you start using it? 2007, probably, right? I mean, we've had a lot of time to cultivate our feed.
I understand that's different, and I understand it didn't grow, and I get that. But again, what's the essence of Twitter? What if you're going to promote what the essence is? And
I'll be honest with you. I look at my Twitter feed; it's a disjointed mess. It looks like people are speaking in, they've had strokes or they're speaking some strange language. It's a disjointed mess.
I made a list. I don't even look at my main feed anymore because it's too messy to fix. I have a list of media wonks that I curate.
I agree with you. I mean, this is almost like a completely separate. This is Flipboard, basically. It's a completely separate product.
Rather than getting a New York Times story, I get one tweet that says, repeats 5 times, the guy was killed, the guy was killed, the guy was killed. I know.
Right.
So I'm sympathetic to what Twitter's trying to do, but I just think you've got to pull back and say, what are we really, like Google always knows, and they started off today to say it. We organize the world's information to make it universally accessible. That's what we do. Everything we do fits under that. Facebook connects people.
What is Twitter?
At its essence?
Yeah, well,
what is Twitter? I don't think they've answered that question.
You think Jack Dorsey is the guy to answer that question?
I think it's the same problem. Listen, how many years do we go through what is Yahoo?
Right. Yahoo doesn't know.
Because again and again and again, they didn't know and they still don't know.
Yeah.
I would say the same problem exists for Twitter.
Well, this looks like Yahoo as well, which is the other thing that's kind of scary.
Yeah, that's true.
Well, it does on the web. Let's look at the web page because this is the same content. But when you look at it on the web, the website is very much of a portal-y kind of lot of wasted space. And
if I want to come in as a user and say, what's going on today? Give me 15 top headlines. Am I going to do it through this, or for that matter, am I going to go to old-fashioned?
I think it's more engaging. I think it's more engaging on mobile than it is on the desktop.
I'm using it on mobile right now. Now, if I go to the entertainment tab, that's a little better because it's more serendipitous.
Well, it's also more entertaining.
Tom Hanks finds student ID. Right?
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
That was
Okay.
yesterday.
Yeah, that was a couple of days ago. I mean, they're going to have to work harder to get this to be more up to date, I think. I like this use of the Getty Image Archive, historic pictures.
What do you think, Kevin? Twitter already exists. It already is what it is. It already does some things well and badly. What do you believe the essential value of Twitter is? How would you express that in a tweet?
I've written essays about this. I'm not sure I've done it in tweets, but
yeah, I mean, I know this is hard for you, Kevin. I know it's very hard, but I know you can do it, Guy. I know you can.
Well, so the essence of it for me is mutual media. The point is that we're each filtering the world for each other, and what we see through whom we follow is what makes sense of the world. That's very much the core of Twitter, as it has been for us.
And you agree with Jeff, really? Yeah.
Yeah. No, and that's
what's the value you get. Is it that somebody linked you to the best version of a given story about something that you're going to care about? Is it that you discovered a fact that you got really quickly? Both. I mean, at the end of the day, boy, I'm glad I had Twitter today because. How do you finish that sentence?
Mostly because I had a conversation about something with somebody. You know, that's actually the piece that and
that's hard as hell.
It draws you back in. It's hard to say. It's like this. You know, I got up this morning and swore about Google's AMP, and the PM of it said, "Oh no, sorry, we've got to change something and fixed it." You know, that was my Twitter experience this morning. It was like.
So here's another way to look at it.
I'm sitting there waiting for the kettle to boil and grumbling about Google's latest thing, and they patch it in front of me. So that was my Twitter moment for today.
So go to the celebrity world. Instagram today released. I don't think it's on the rundown, but released its yesterday or today. Its top users, and they're primarily celebrity women, starting with guess who? Taylor Swift. That's another way to do it. You know, here's the world through these people you might find interesting, and through them you might find some other people interesting. So it's about people. In that case.
But that's
I just don't see it's about headlines.
But that's what Twitter has done before. I mean, Twitter already does that when you try and join up. It says
exactly
follow Lady Gaga, follow Justin Bieber. It's like, no, stop it. You know, if I log into Twitter with my other account that doesn't follow anyone, it'll give me like 3 pages of that nonsense as well. So why don't you follow blah blah blah? Actually, I'm not sure I can do it on this one, but it will give it does that thing. The other thing that Twitter shipped was highlights. Do you see that, or is that only going to some people?
Tell me about that. Where is that?
Twitter
shows.
Twitter highlights.
What
yes. That? So okay, let me show you the highlights. If you go to, they will actually pop up as notifications. But if I go to highlights,
yeah, there it is.
Oh, actually, I'm getting that on my Android device as well now. Yeah.
Okay, so that has rolled out too. So that is more like Flipboard. I'm getting too
but it's in your notifications, which is weird.
Well, but it is also in the menu. If you go up to the top right and click it, there's a place to find it. But what this is people you follow, and it gives you a little reason at the top. It says, 2 of these people follow this thing. This is trending news in your area.
This requires that they know something about you. That you have
this requires that you are logged in. But this is trying to give you this is a parallel thing to the other one is here's the front page of the world. Here's what's going on.
This is good.
Whereas
this seems to be with the new app. I've never seen
this. All right. I like this.
So it's obvious Twitter's casting around, trying to
Which
solve.
I get. I mean, I'm empathetic with.
What would you? I mean, so
start with
first
the
of all,
user
were you
value.
surprised that Jack Dorsey's the new CEO? Somebody mentioned there's going to be a lawsuit.
well,
There'll be a
it's
shareholder lawsuit because the board said unequivocally we will not hire somebody who's going to be a CEO of two companies. Clearly pointed at Jack Dorsey.
Was there that kind of discussion when Jobs was heading up two companies? What was the discussion? At the time?
No, because
Well, no, because he
That's
wasn't really.
Jobs.
He was never CEO of Pixar at the same time. He was chairman of the board.
Oh, okay,
Catmull
right.
was running it.
But the point being that
he
if
was
the
backing it.
board makes a material statement about the future, like we will never hire somebody who's CEO of two companies, and then does it, that's a shareholder lawsuit because shareholders are investing based on material statements from the board, and for whatever, I don't know if that made the stock go up or down, but in any event, then you don't do it. That's a big deal. You can't do that. That was very undisciplined of the board. And some have speculated that it was really, I think it was Ben Thompson in Stratechery who speculated that really that was Ev Williams saying under no circumstances will I allow Jack Dorsey to come back. I want to be clear about this. Of course, Ev posted on Medium how wonderfully happy he is to have. But Ben says this is somewhat of a lukewarm endorsement. Why I'm glad Jack is back at Twitter. So I don't know. There's a lot of stuff behind the scenes here.
Well, she posted on Medium, not on Twitter.
Yeah, well, I'm sure he linked to it on Twitter.
Yeah.
I don't know, did he?
We can never run an A/B test and see what Twitter would have become had Jack stayed. Had I not fired, had Jack stayed in the role from 2008, or if I stayed in the role from 2010. One good thing for Jack is Dick Costolo is leaving the board, so he only has one of two previous CEOs looking over his shoulder. Jack, I don't,
What do you think?
I don't know. I mean, didn't Jack have a chance before?
Yeah,
Early on.
I mean, Adam Bain, who's now COO, was the.
I know he's your favorite. Yeah.
Well, people just like him a lot. As I say, I worked with him many years ago. Really well thought of. He's a revenue guy. He's a business guy. He's sane. He's, but part of what Ev went to is does the company need the founder or not?
The shill in the chat room saying, and I think this is right, Twitter is being held to a big tech growth standard by the stock market that's totally unrealistic, not sustainable. But it's the way it is. We've talked about this before. It's a shame that Twitter can't just be Twitter, as messy. And one of the things a lot of people have said is now that Dick Costolo is gone, Twitter should reach out to the developers, the third-party developers that Costolo banned, threw out, trashed, and say, come back.
That's why I mentioned that they also just killed an API, and I can't find it.
Oh, yeah.
But they killed an API today after Jack takes over. I'm trying to see if I can find it. Chat room. Did anybody see that one?
The reliable share count API.
There it is. Thank you. Boy, you're good. That Google works for you.
What's this API?
It's a public API which makes it possible for plug-in developers to, or just anybody who's coding in the context of a web page, to see how often that page has been shared via Twitter. So I guess you can make a query to the API saying, hey, how many people are linking to me? This is an article from the Stack. It's the end of a free ride. After the shutdown of the ability to read back statistics from a JSON endpoint, those wanting to continue to display vanity metrics will need to either accept the limitations of the aggregate and non-comprehensive REST API, in other words, not the fire hose, or dig deep to begin to use more comprehensive statistics via GNIP, which has the fire hose. I don't know what this means, but this site says it's a bold monetizing move on the part of Twitter.
So
But I
basically,
couldn't judge that.
Okay, so it's not quite clear, but it sounds like it's they want, the irony is at the top of the page it has like the little 70 tweet shares embedded in the page.
Right. See, right there it says total shares. Yeah.
So is that what the API was?
I don't know.
Let me actually read what Twitter said about it rather than the second order interpretation.
Good thinking. A new design for tweet and follow buttons. This was
A
a
modern
couple of.
high contrast design.
You know, I don't. This is actually from 15 days ago. I don't know if this is.
Have we done any commercials yet?
Yes,
you want to do one?
Just now.
Do you need a break? You want to go to the bathroom? Let's
Yeah.
talk about lynda.com.
Right back.
And we'll have more in just a bit. I snuck out during your Twitter debate. I got myself some nuts. This episode brought to you by lynda.com, the online learning platform with over 3,000 on-demand video courses to help you strengthen your skills in a whole bunch of areas. Of course, technology, that's where they started. You can learn better web design. You can learn to code. They've got courses like analyzing your website to improve SEO. We need to do that big time. I might take that course tonight. Problem solving for web professionals, WordPress essential training, up and running with Python and Django. And you know what? I guarantee you they're working on an AMP course because that's what they do. They work closely with software developers too, so that they're ready when a new version of a program comes out with new video content taught by some of the best people in the business. Intermediate techniques for Squarespace 7, that's a course. Watch and learn from people who care passionately about what they're teaching and are working in the field. People like Bert Monroy. I mean, that's what you can't learn Photoshop from a better person than Bert Monroy. They're all, look at that. What is that? Foundations of Programming Databases. Wow. Wow. That's deep. That's heavy voodoo there. But you can also learn how to program from the very ground up in iOS and Android for Windows. It's just amazing. Courses are designed so you can watch them from start to finish, or you can consume them in little chunks. You can even search the transcript and you go right to the part you want to know. It's like a great reference book for you. Videos, well-produced, high-quality videos from experts. And the nice thing is you subscribe, you have the run of the place. Building a note-taking app for iOS 9 with Swift. That is a great course, by the way, from Todd Perkins. Great course. By the end of it, you'll actually have a note-taking app and you'll learn Swift. Here's the deal. We're going to give you 10 days free. You can take any course, as many courses as you want in the 10 days. If you go to lynda.com/twig, when you subscribe, that's the same situation. You know, you basically have access to everything. So it's not like you have to pick your major. You can dabble. It's great for anybody who loves to learn. I know if you're watching our shows, you love to learn. Well, then you'll love Lynda. lynda.com/twig. Try it free for 10 days right now. I got the new watch, the Moto 360.
Oh, yeah.
I got the big one. Oh, you got to unplug and plug in. You're Cyloning.
Me?
Yeah. You sound like a robot.
Well, the
I call
truth
it
is,
Daleking, but okay.
Robot.
Am I better?
Yeah. This is the 40. I got the big one, though. What is that, 46 inches?
Because you're a big guy.
Well, also, I feel like the bigger the screen, the better with this stuff. I am really not convinced that smartwatches are worth a dime. And I've worn them
I'm sure
all.
not buying another one until I see something that says it's markedly better than this. So It's the same functionality. It's the same operating.
Yeah, the Moto 360 is fine. The early one is fine. This is just, you know, what's different on this, it's basically the same. They have a better processor, but it's different bands and designs, that's all. And I think round is great. This looks like I'm wearing a wristwatch, right? Here's the Huawei, which actually, that's the original. That's the original 360. So it's a little bit bigger. You're not wearing the Huawei, Jason. I'm surprised. The Huawei looks a lot like the 360. It's round, it's thick, it's ugly, and they all do the same kind of useless things. Here comes the Huawei. Jason's now running around. I'm going to have 3 watches before this day is done. And then the Sport is coming sometime at some point. Oh, we got the box of the Huawei in the box. Let's see if I can. I don't know. I feel like this whole category is just nothing. It's a flop. It reminds me of Google Glass. Doesn't that look exactly the same? It's got a leather band, but you can get a leather band on the
They look like watches. That's the thing, yeah. And
well,
Apple's already used up the differentiation of making them out of gold and so on. So
yeah, and Hermes bands and stuff. So anyway, I thought I'd mention that. Marshmallow is here. Are you excited? I have Marshmallow.
You do?
No, not officially. I do because Jason Howell is the man. They talked about this last night on All About Android. He took a Nexus 7 and side-loaded it. with Marshmallow.
Yeah, just flash the image that they posted.
But you have a Nexus 6, right, Jeff? That's what you're using. That'll get the update soon. I keep pressing update.
Check for update. Check for update. Check for update.
I know.
I mean, this is a step up to the next version. So my thought was, why not start from scratch? So if I flash it, I wiped it, started clean. That way I know for sure. You know, I'm not carrying over any cruft.
Let's do the now tab. What is it called? Now tab.
Now on tap.
Now on tap. I'm gonna accept and continue. So if hello Leo La Demo. I love it. Let's go to g.co. Oh, I have to do it in an app.
You can do it in anything.
I could do it in Chrome's an app, obviously.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Anything that has any text on it that it can grab contextual
we'll show you how
around.
fast AMP loads. And then I search for Obama. Whoops. .NET framework.
You could talk to it.
Oh, you're so fancy.
We don't talk to devices.
Is the talking better on Marshmallow? I don't think so.
No.
So Obama apologizes to everybody, it looks like.
So the AMP thing didn't show up there.
No. Interesting, huh? So I just tap what I press.
So your home button, just press and hold it.
Press and hold the home button.
And it'll go bloop.
Google Now on tap.
And you can let go now, and it'll analyze and give you cards
related stuff
that are related to the stuff it finds on the page.
I like that.
Yeah.
And it will do this with apps if apps support it. The app has to specifically support it. So I looked up Hillary Clinton. It says maybe you'd be interested in Bernie Sanders.
They're trying to influence the election. That is
evil. You see? What else is new, Jason? Let's see. This looks very similar. I understand that they have a simpler system of notifications. Oh, yeah, that's a lot. I kind of like the priority thing with but
it's funny. I was actually just reading on that a little bit earlier. So what you get now is the hold down volume all the way down, and it'll go to complete silence eventually, which you didn't have in Lollipop. You know, they have the different steps, right? So you get that. Great.
And now I can do this.
If you still want to do do not disturb / priority mode, which, by the way, you can set up multiple different aspects to that. So like weeknights versus weekends versus, you know, all this kind of stuff. You have to go into your settings pull down. So go do the double finger swipe down from the top. That'll give you your settings pull down.
Yeah.
And then there's a little do not disturb button.
Disturb there. Okay.
Tap that, and then that'll bring you through.
And then
so
this
it's kind
is
of
the same thing, but it's in a different spot.
It just takes a little bit more to get to. Yeah. So if that's the thing you really like, it requires a little more effort.
But I think they wanted to give you more information about what the do not disturb was.
Yeah, there was a lot of confusion around that.
And then here's the setting. This looks very similar, doesn't it?
Oh yeah, very from a visual standpoint, it's very similar to Lollipop. You know, some of the bigger things that you're going to see are going to happen behind the scenes.
Yeah.
Doze in particular, which is...
No, it's too early to know if we're getting better battery life, I presume.
I mean, I've noticed pretty consistently on my Nexus 6, I've been running the developer previews, you know, since they've been doing them. And I absolutely noticed a big difference with Doze. If you're working, and you set your device down or you leave it unplugged overnight, the battery loss is significantly lower than it was before Marshmallow.
Ooh. It's Flappy Bird.
Yeah, they did change it. It can be multiplayer, by the way. So when you first fire it up, it'll have the number up at the top, and you can increase players. So if you have a large tablet, all of you can gather around the tablet and play this impossible game.
I hate this game so much.
Yeah, it's pretty bad.
Okay. So you're flying through marshmallows
now. Yeah.
Every time I get stuck on marshmallows. So there you have it.
Yeah.
It really could have been 5.2, I guess. Maybe there's a lot more inside. There's actually some security stuff that is probably significant. But although, guess what? Stage fright is back, and it still affects Marshmallow.
No.
Oh, it's a new one, though. You have to have a download or play a malformed MP3 file or MP4 file. Actually, the Zimperium discovered it again, but they don't have yet stage fright detector, I don't think, for the new one. Let me just download and install this and see. I think this stage fright detector, which is the one we recommend. What? I don't want that. I want this. Begin analysis. Oh, I just tapped the wrong.
Oh, okay. I thought I was trying to trick you into installing something.
No, these are all the old stage frights. So at least Marshmallow's safe from that. You don't have to turn off MMS reception on Hangouts. But there's a new one, and you have to be a little bit careful about when MP3s and MP4s. Even preview will infect you if it's a mal-crafted MP3 or MP4. Kind of a big issue, I think, for Google.
Yeah,
almost a billion.
A persistent issue, until they address it underneath. You know, maybe with the next version of Android, they kind of move away from the stage fright way of handling media at its core and do something different. Or, hey, they should improve the way that they roll out updates so everybody gets them regardless of anyone else's interruption.
So I'm told
that's an idea.
That Now on Tap doesn't require cooperation of the app, so I can press and hold the home button, and it will just kind of...
it'll analyze, pretty much anything on the screen.
If I want to know more about stage fright, it's kind of a scant amount of data, but I can...
I will say one thing that I'm really liking is is how Marshmallow is handling permissions, just app permissions. So, launching an app for the first time, it wants to access the camera.
Right.
It'll pop up a little, a nice looking little toast message that says, do you want to grant access to the camera? And then from that point on, the app has access to the camera.
And it's more granular. You can say no, and the app will still work. Let's just...
And hopefully the developers have worked in a way to make that, marshmallow ready so that it kind of degrades gracefully.
I've never seen quite so long a list of things Facebook needs to access.
Welcome to Facebook. It wants everything.
It wants everything.
Yeah.
So even though it asked for and I gave it permission to do all those things, it's still going to ask some explicit permissions as the app happens. That's what, of course, iOS does, and that's
it's the way that, my opinion, the way that it should have been all along. I think it makes the most sense.
Okay, Marshmallow, Moto 360. Still waiting for my 5. I think I'm gonna get the 6P, not the 5X. I'm gonna go for the 6P. Jeff, did you decide what you want to do on that?
Oh, I already ordered. I ordered the P. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Though so if I get the Pixel C, I'm now thinking I should have gotten a 128 gig phone. Because I use my Nexus 7 to watch movies and shows on planes and stuff. If I use my Nexus 6P, then I might want more space for it. But it's too late. I've already ordered it. That's that. It's fine.
I think 64. You probably got 64 right. I think that's plenty.
I did.
Yeah.
I did.
I mean, a movie's a gigabyte. How many movies do you need?
I fill this because I have like 5 episodes of Good Wife, and then I have 4 of Humans, and I have 3 of Banshee.
I gotta watch more of that.
Because I want a little variety, and I'm gone in weird places, and watch shows.
If you weren't scared of Google, maybe you will be now. They're working on a general purpose robot, and according to Bloomberg Business, they are making strides,
so to speak.
Great strides.
Humans, the show, comes to life.
I wouldn't mind having an android, a human-like helper.
I just don't want that nurse that what's his name has.
She's harsh.
Yes.
Yes, but at least she doesn't.
Because I do so many bad things. You must eat your broth.
She took away his sandwich. He made himself a nice grilled cheese. He said no. But at least she doesn't leak blue fluid out of her nose like that old one. That'll ruin your day. All right, what other stories here? Google and Israel are going to the moon?
Not a big deal. Just a contest. I put it in there.
Okay.
I don't think it's
Alphabet's new motto, or I don't know what it is.
It's not
Creed?
don't be evil. It's go do something nice to somebody. No, it's
it's hug. Hug a German today.
Hug a German.
Hug a German today.
Do the right thing. It's Spike Lee.
As of last Friday, it's Spike Lee. That's right. It's a Spike Lee joint. As of last Friday, it's all done. Alphabet, the holding company, has been formed. If you had shares of the Google stock, you've been converted to your Alphabet shares. Tickers are Google for Google is the same. The board is the same. Shareholder rights are the same, and you still don't get to vote. Because that's Larry and Sergey's job. And there's a new motto. Where's the code of conduct? Let me see if I can find that. Here it is. This is from The Verge. They have a little scan of the code of conduct, I think, here. Maybe not. Instead of don't be evil.
Oh, here it is. Top link, yeah.
It is avoid conflicts of interest. No. It should do the right thing, follow the law, act honorably, and treat each other with respect.
Sounds like a Boy Scouts motto.
Yeah. It's going to be harder and harder to obey the law if the EU keeps this up. Oh, man.
Which law?
Which law? Whose law?
Yes. Yeah. Paul was sad about that. Yeah.
Yeah. By the way, Motorola, I was a little disappointed on the Moto X. I'm now glad that I didn't stick with the Moto X, has decided that when they do the Marshmallow upgrade, they're going to take out all the things that made the Moto X so great. Assist.
You're kidding me.
They're going to take out all the enhancements. Say, oh, we don't need to do it anymore because
taking
Marshmallow does it all so well. I don't think so.
Motorola's kind of backsliding a little bit right now, is what everybody's saying. Also, they announced their update schedule for Marshmallow, and of all the devices that they are updating, they are not updating this year's Moto E. This year's Moto E is not updating to Marshmallow. It's not included on the list.
Do you think they know something about performance?
Man, that's
It's not the point of Moto E. It's right. The Moto E is supposed to be like 2 years ago's model, so it's really cheap.
Yeah, they posted on their site a few months ago. Man, I have to pull up the All About Android doc to find it. They posted something about never having to worry, like this is going to be updated, blah, blah, blah.
Oh, dear.
I'll have to find the exact.
Do you still have your Mattel ViewMaster here? We got the new ViewMaster.
Oh, you got the new one? You got it already?
The new one?
I was going to go to the store tonight.
Yeah.
It said
Jason
stores there.
Clantis bought it.
Nice.
This is the cardboard thing?
$29.
This is cardboard. It's cheap, $29. And thank you, Jason. Jason loves VR.
Comes with a little AR thing, too.
Yeah, it does. So it's kind of cool looking. I could see kids being into this. You have to hold it, of course, because it's a ViewMaster. And then what do you do, Jason? You show it the disc? You take a picture of the disc?
Yeah.
So here's a disc. This is very strange. You would expect it to somehow, remember ViewMasters, they have these little
Yeah,
discs.
the thing you stick in the top, yeah.
Yeah, but no, not anymore. Now you just look at it. What do? You just look at it?
Well,
I got to put my phone in here.
yeah.
Oh,
It's not standalone.
Oh.
So
I
basically
wasn't
it's a
sure. I
cardboard-
was like, maybe Jason had one loaded in there when he handed it to Leo.
Oh, I see.
So it's a cardboard without the actual straps.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, cardboard didn't have straps either, right? So will it fit any size phone?
Yeah.
No, cardboard had no straps.
Well, does it? Where do I put it? Oh, in here. Yeah. Oh, okay. So this is good. It has kind of some sort of mechanism to hold. Let's see. This is the biggest phone you'd ever try to get in here, right?
Yeah.
I don't know if it's going to fit the 6. It might not fit the 6. The Nexus 6.
It said the 6 is hard to get. You still have a case
Oh,
on
yeah,
it?
you get it in. There you go.
Get it in.
There you go. Do I have to do anything?
Well, you have to download an app.
Oh, I have to have an app on here. My God. What next?
Is it the cardboard app or?
They have a little QR code here. I could probably.
Oh, the Mattel's own VR app.
Search for Mattel. All right.
I can give you my phone.
No. Look. What's the point if we don't do it all from scratch, right?
Yeah, that went so well when I tried to get you to run that stuff in.
We are, after all, a how-to show.
Ever After High, stop motion movie creator, Barbie Life, Monster High.
Oh, the Monster High game is so good.
What?
Just kidding.
ViewMaster Wildlife? So any one of these?
Any one of those 3.
Oh,
Okay.
Okay.
All right.
Oh,
Install
man.
ViewMaster.
Maybe I need to get this for my daughter.
I think the kids would love this. In-app purchases. Proceed. I don't care if it's... I think I'm on Wi-Fi anyway. I don't know why they ask you that if you're on Wi-Fi. You should just say, okay. So this is 279 megabytes of animal pictures.
Wow.
So what do I point this at the? What do I point at the disk for if I'm downloading the software?
So you have to either pay for the content
Oh, you have to pay for the content.
or use the demo reel to activate limited content.
So you either pay for the content because it says in-app purchases, or you can use the demo reel, the little disc, and that gives you a demo of it. That's really. Why don't they?
Quite the same magic.
So how much in-app is it going to be? Does it say?
I think the paid for is like $15
What?
for content. Per
How much is
per
so?
slide?
This
Yeah,
is only $27
per whatever.
But if you want to do anything with it, you got to buy another $15 program.
But you can use any cardboard app with it, right?
It just works with cardboard. Okay. So yeah, there's a lot of cardboard stuff out there.
Yeah, and there's content on YouTube you can view.
You can do
Oh, and this would do the
cardboard,
YouTube 3D stuff,
Yeah.
Or the 360 stuff too.
See the yellow old-time slider on the back by your eyes?
The yellow slider here, yeah. What does that do?
That's like the magnet in.
That's your button.
So it activates.
All right, let's.
I like the build of it. I mean,
it's good. I like it. I
because
agree with you.
Cardboard as a cardboard piece of hardware is great because it's inexpensive, but it's not awesome if you use it. Yes, yeah, that happens, and it's just not durable over time, especially if you have kids.
Well, we're going to have
get
students.
this.
We have a lot of these just for students to use in our new class.
Cardboard.
Not these, but cardboard. So I'm going to get these like crazy.
Yeah.
How much is this thing?
$27.
$29.
$29. Okay, whatever.
Oh, okay. I'll probably get one.
cheap.
Then.
Yeah.
I never
Amazon,
got one with the original
Target,
cardboard.
Walmart.
Where'd it go? Do they still have that thing? Oh yeah, there it is. I forgot. There's a little. So now I launch it, and now I can close it.
Well, it'll walk you through. So it'll tell you.
It's gonna tell me what to do.
Let this play out so you can see it. So
Oh,
it asks
my
you,
God.
Do you have a disc? Did you pay for the content?
Did you pay for the content?
Did you pay? What are you doing? Who are you?
So hit the play.
Are you in the EU or in America?
Yeah. Get ready, EU. I have a pass card unlocked through App Store. I have a ViewMaster demo reel.
There you go.
Okay. Place device into your viewer, top of the phone facing left. Make sure top of the phone facing left. Oh, I'd put it in backwards. Oh, for crying out loud. It wasn't easy. I can't even.
Why can't it work that out?
Yeah, that's called an
it's a little
accelerometer.
out.
It knows which way is up.
Oh, see? Now it knows. It says pull lever to start.
Yeah, you've been rewarded.
So you're a good monkey. All right, seal it up. And now the best part, Leo looking through it.
Yeah, Leo going into VR.
Okay. And now it's giving me the color wheel. Now, is it reading that disc?
Yeah, it should. A little 3D world should pop up. Above.
It says, look at a reel. Oh! Oh! There's little aminals on my reel. Oh, I wish you could see that.
If we had a Chromecast set up, you could cast to it.
It's augmented reality.
What?
Rotate the disc.
It's augmented reality. Oh, there's hi little kangaroo. Now what do? Do I look at a dot and press a lever? Oh, that's cool.
Yeah. I saw the video of it.
You can open it and it'll still play if you want to show it. To
Can
the
I?
product cam. Yeah, it'll
Okay.
stay running for a while.
Because it's just a piece of crap.
True. It'll stay.
It doesn't exactly.
good.
It'll give you that.
Now, how do I get back to the reel? Oh, now what's going on? Okay. Back.
Hit the back button.
Back. Okay. So now
Hit play again.
press play, and it's going to look at a reel. Okay. I have a vid. This is actually a very cool effect.
Yeah.
Oh, come on.
No. Just lift it up like it's in it. Like make it go horizontal. There you go. You try.
Pull lever to start.
That's the trick one.
Oh, I can't. I have to go. Okay, now start real quick. This is cool. Where do you see this? See, there's the reel.
Yep.
Now watch. There's little aminals on it, and then I can rotate that. So this is augmented reality. See, I hit it with my finger.
And
Isn't
if
that
you
cool?
The disc and move it, it'll adjust to the angle of the disc.
So I can pick up the disc.
Yeah.
Oh, that is
that's
sweet.
That's very
That
sweet.
is pretty cute.
And then you pick a different animal and you click on the little icon, the yellow.
Okay.
icon.
Let's wrap it up.
On a ViewMaster. Jeez.
One more ad, and then I'll let you run. Okay? Can you stay here
Okay,
for a minute?
fine. Yes,
Because
I
I want to
can.
get your number.
Okay.
All right. Our show today brought to you by Braintree. We love Braintree. All mobile app developers should love Braintree. This is a solution you've been looking for. A way to integrate a payment solution into your mobile app or your website. Simple 10 lines of code. Works with everything. Yeah, they love JavaScript, Node.js, Perl, Python, Ruby, all of it. Look at the V.0 SDK at braintreepayments.com/twig, and you will be impressed. And as soon as you've integrated it, or by the way, you can do this in the sandbox to get a sense of it. You'll be ready to accept Apple Pay and PayPal and Venmo and credit cards and Bitcoin. And you know what? When the new payment system comes along, like let's say Android Pay, you just check a box in the config and boom, it's there. It's really critical. And these days, any online business has to add this capability. You got to make payments. If you've got payments, you got to make it easy. That's what Uber does. That's what Lyft does, Airbnb. A couple of days ago, I talked to Ankur Arya. He's the general manager for Braintree Mobile, about how standards have evolved in mobile payments. Listen.
Buying on mobile is now becoming table stakes, right? I always give the example of the average mobile user may have 50 apps on their phone. 10 of those apps have to do with some sort of commerce. 5 or 6 of them work as seamlessly as Uber and Munchery and Airbnb and Lyft. The consumer is going to have that same expectation from kind of all of their buying experiences on that device. And so I think that's kind of the macro trend that we're seeing is seamless buying on a mobile device is becoming sort of the key to converting users and keeping your mobile users happy.
And by the way, they just acquired Harper Reed's company, and that's exactly what Harper Reed's company, I can't remember the name of it, does, is kind of, well, the buyable pins on Pinterest are an example. This kind of seamless experience wherever you go. Braintree is amazing. The payouts to you are fast. Support to you is continuous. You'll always be ready. And they are ready to handle you from your first dollar to your billionth dollar. That's, look at their client list. You'll see fewer abandoned carts. You'll see more sales with Braintree's best-in-class mobile checkout experience. If you have any questions, you'd like to try the sandbox, go to braintreepayments.com/twig. braintreepayments.com/twig. Tell the boss, tell your colleagues. If you're the decider, tell yourself. Oh, and I should tell you something else. $50,000, your first $50,000 in transactions, fee-free. braintreepayments.com/twig. Now, let's let Jeff Jarvis give us his number of the week and decamp.
Google finds out that 30% in San Francisco, 30% of 911 calls are accidental butt dials.
How does Google know that?
Because it was a 20% project, because the San Francisco Department of Emergency Management wanted to know why the hell between 2011 and 2014, the number of calls had gone up 28%.
More butt dials.
And butt dials.
Oh, because it's the only button on the front page of the phone, yeah.
Bingo. And even if it's not a locked phone, it says
even if there's no SIM card in it, you can always make an emergency card.
And I've almost done it. So what happens is the poor, this is awful because it takes resource. They have to call and make sure that it was. They don't know if it's accidental. Right. Somebody called. I once called 911 when I was having a difficulty with a contractor. And I hung up because he left. And then, by God, they called me back immediately. No,
they should.
They call you back. They should, right? So they have to call, and they have to devote a certain amount of time with every call to find out that, oh, I'm sorry, it's a butt dial. So something has to be done. I don't know what, but that was the first piece of data that showed that. So I thought it was amusing.
Do you think it's more in San Francisco than, or is there more butt dialing going on in San Francisco?
I don't know.
I'm stopping right now.
Stop right there.
I'm sorry. I just can't believe I said that. Thank you, Jeff.
All right, I'm going off to see a movie.
You're going to see Jobs. Let us know how you like it.
I'm going to see Jobs. That's why I got to make the screening.
Yeah.
So
thanks, Jeff Jarvis. Buzzmachine.com.
Have fun.
Buy his books.
Love you guys.
See you next Wednesday. Kevin Marks, anything you want to share with us as long as you're still here?
I got a couple of things. Well, one which I may have mentioned before, I'm not sure, which was the InstaWeather watch face. You were talking about watches earlier.
Mm-hmm.
And this, I made this my watch face a while ago, and I still love it.
I saw your raindrops.
And that was what I was going to show you the raindrops, yeah.
So it shows you the current weather where you are.
I just put the link in the
yeah, there it is.
I see. So basically, InstaWeather watch face is you put it on your phone, and it gives you a really nice graph of what the weather's doing now, what it's going to do soon, and lets you click between different things. And then one of the options in the background is to give you like a nice picture of what the weather's like, which here is usually blue skies. That's just what you get because I'm in San Jose. And last Wednesday, there were raindrops on my watch because it was actually raining outside.
Something you hadn't seen in a long time.
So the one I like is the one with the graphs on. Okay, not that one. Next one.
This is a video. We don't have a choice.
Oh, it's a video. Okay, sorry.
But fortunately, they like it too.
I thought you were doing on yours. Sorry.
No, I'm installing it right now. I use a different one called Weatherface, but I'm going to install this Insta Weather.
The thing I like about it is I'll see if I can get it in a state where I can show it to you on my wrist. Hold on.
Look at that.
I have to take it off my wrist so that I can show it. Otherwise, I'm going to break my arm. So you get too much light again. Hang on. Can you see that?
Yeah. Well, tilt it. Yeah. There. Other way. Yeah.
Other way,
there you go.
And then move that way.
Yeah. And now go the other way. Now it's off.
Yeah. This is. I had a problem taking photo of it as well.
First
so
world
you get
issues.
a little graph.
Yeah.
Of the temperature coming up and down, and then you can switch that between temperature and precipitation, wind and cloud cover, and dew point and humidity.
Nice.
But what I found is that it's really glanceable and it's nice that it does that. But the other thing is it puts this little picture in the background of like current conditions. Whoop. And what I discovered for the first time in 3 months is that it shows raindrops when it's raining. So I thought that was quite cute. But also it's very, very boasting about San Jose weather thing.
I have Weather Time, which will do the same thing, but this one looks even more complete.
Now, this is nice. It also has it has a radar version and all kinds of other stuff as well.
Oh,
but
nice.
This particular one's pretty good. So
do I have
a fan
to
of that.
buy a?
You were saying what's the?
Do I have to get like the? Is it like? Does it require an extra thing to do it, or is it standalone?
The basic faces are free, and then certain complications cost more.
Oh, look.
Yeah, so they've got some suave-looking ones.
Ooh, I like the radar one. That's cool.
Yeah, so it's a pretty it's like someone's done a really nice graphic design job on good weather data. I think it's Weather Underground data. I'm not sure, but it comes up and looks nice.
It's a satellite map. Neat.
Yeah, so you can actually see
neat.
where the rain's coming. So it's, as I say, as you said, the watch thing isn't like isn't life changing, but it's interesting enough that I do bother to charge it every day. And the thing I charge it for is
weather map on your watch.
The little weather upcoming, the turn-by-turn directions when I'm cycling, and shouting at my wrist when I'm in the car to change the music.
Yeah. So how do I get it to do something different? It's just. I see. I can add complications. I see.
Yeah. And you can do more configuration on the phone.
Right.
There's like a big checklist UI on the phone.
Thank you. Good pick. I like it. I'm going to use it.
I like that.
And you wanted to talk about comments?
Well, this was a conversation that happened this week. Was that Motherboard, which is part of Vice, that does good investigative journalism, announced that they were giving up on commenting, and they said basically
everybody is, aren't they?
Comments nightmare. Bah. And so what I was trying to do was get them to understand the sort of the IndieWeb point of view on it. But I had a very nice conversation with them. They're basically saying, no, we have no development resources at all. We can't even add 2 little bits of JavaScript to the top and bottom of our page to do this. And they basically already decided they weren't going to do it. So that was kind of sad. But I wrote a little note about thinking about it, because that's part of the piece of the IndieWeb stuff that's actually working well is this ability to have the web mentions work between sites. And if it just works between indie websites, then that's interesting, but it's you tend to get high quality comments. But we've also got bridges that go to other social networks and bring the tweets and things in as well. So that's sort of where we're at with this stuff, and it's at the point now where you could install it on a website and get something useful out of it. So that was my sort of. There's a bunch of interesting stuff to be done there, and if Jeff has some news people who are interested, then send them my way, and I'll talk to them about it. Very nice.
Kevin, I want to thank you for being here. I don't think we could have had an intelligent discussion about AMP without your input.
I hope that was helpful. I'll go back and play with it and see if I can work out whether I validated it correctly or not.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I want to take a look at it, but I have to say, it feels like just a burden instead of a blessing. Just one more thing I have to do.
Yes. Now that is the drawback of a lot of these things. I mean, I think it's less that you have to do than the other ones,
right.
Perhaps.
Right.
We don't know about Apple yet. But in some ways, it's more than what you have to do with Facebook's one, because at least Facebook uses the actual image and video links that you already have. Whereas this one, you've got to turn them into something else.
Well, I have to say, I want to thank you and Jeff for giving me at least some empathy into what the record industry felt like for many years. I now understand. We always said, why doesn't the record industry get it? Why don't they just understand they're in a new era? I suddenly feel like one of those guys. Oh, I'm screwed. Nothing I can do about it.
Your stuff makes sense in its own right. That's the thing.
I hope so. And I hope my community will continue to partake of our programming. We're making the best stuff we can by visiting the website or downloading. You know, we actually are in a lot of different venues.
Yeah.
We don't have to. I mean, thank you to Dave Weiner and Adam Curry and the guys and you for creating this whole notion of podcasting, of an RSS feed with binary attachments that you could subscribe to and download. I really owe you a great debt of gratitude, actually.
Well, I did a small part of that, but I think there's the point is that took a long time to actually start making sense, because at the time it was I still had to like plug the iPod in and sync it every day.
Now it's easy,
and it only started making more sense once you've got it in your phone and available in other places.
Yeah, it's actually maybe I'm not so out of style after all.
Yeah.
Kevin Marks, thank you so much for being here. Of course, Indie Web Camp. I know you always like to give a little plug, a little shout out to Indie Web Camp. What's going on?
Oh, well, yes. Tonight, there's Homebrew Website Club in San Francisco at Mozilla at 5:30, Quiet Writing Hour, 6:30 meeting. I think there's one in Portland as well tonight. And there was one in Edinburgh and in Malmö in Sweden.
Oh, wow.
Yesterday.
How cool.
So we're starting to spread out.
If you want to find out more, go to indiewebcamp.com and scroll down to the Homebrew Website Club.
Website Club, yes.
What a great idea. That is awesome. And you'll see there's lots of meetings. Malmö, Edinburgh, Portland, and San Francisco.
It's normally every 2 weeks.
That's a great picture there. Thank you, Kevin. Have a great week. We'll see you soon.
See you soon.
I want to thank you all for joining us. We do This Week in Google. It's my Friday, your Wednesday, about 1:30 Pacific, 4:30 Eastern Time, 20:30 UTC on twit.tv/live. You can watch live if you would like to. We certainly love it if you do. But if you can't be here live and in person, well, you can always watch after the fact. We have on-demand audio and video available at twit.tv/twig. And, of course, on every podcast platform known to man, including Roku. There are apps on all the platforms. It's everywhere you want it to be, everywhere you are. I hope you'll take Twit along and Twig along with you wherever you go. Thanks for joining us. We'll see you next time on This Week in Google. Bye-bye.